listening to Tachyon Radio, the station that's so far in front, it meets itself coming back.
Hello, good evening. You're listening to TachyonRadio.com. Coming up shortly, we've got the first of tonight's chats from the Tameside Paranormal Researchers. It's going to be consisting of Dave, Wayne, Steve and Krista throughout the rest of the evening. The first one, which is coming up shortly, is going to be a talk on some of the experiences. Other ones which will be coming up will be in reference to the investigations, how to go about it, and some of the equipment they actually use. Now, I've been sort of doing paranormal research and UFO research off and on for somewhere in the region of 35 years, so I can safely say that I do know what I'm on about, and I can honestly say that the Tameside Paranormal Researchers group are probably the most professional that I've actually met. There's no flim-flam about them, nothing. They go out, they do the bits, and they do it really well. Like I say, I've been doing this for a number of years, and it's nice to actually see people who are doing it for the love of the subject and out to try and make a lot of money for it. I mean, like I say, I've been doing it off and on for over 35 years, never made a penny out of it, and I can honestly say that's never bothered me for the simple reason it's the subject that I actually love. Along the way, unfortunately, I've sort of come across people who money is the end product for them. I'm sick and tired of turning up to meetings where all of a sudden these things thrown at you that you need to buy. I'm sick and tired of people coming across so-called courses which could actually be done for next to nothing, for the simple reason at the end of it there's a meaningless piece of paper which isn't any form of accreditation to anybody, and yet they're getting charged 50, 60, 70 pound for no names, no pat drill, but I know damn well over the years that people that I have worked with, research of mine has disappeared, research of mine has been renamed, and usually most of the stuff that I've done myself has gone. So consequently, at least I've still got my own documentation for stuff, but it's nice to actually meet guys, like I say, at the Tameside Paranormal Researchers, because they do it for the love of it. And I tell you what, you ever need to know anything, see Dave and the crowd there at TPR. I tell you what, they're a good bunch. Anyway, enough of me waffling on. This is TachyonRadio.com, and the first of our paranormal talks tonight from the Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
Dave from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
Hello, this is Wayne from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
And I thought we'd take the opportunity to have a little bit of a chat about one or two experiences we've had at a location that's a bit of a favourite to both me and you and the rest of the team, Wayne.
Oh, definitely.
I'm sure you know the place that I'm on about.
Oh, the little chapel.
The chapel in Cheshire, yeah. It's had one or two surprises for us in the past.
Oh, I would say so.
And of course, we can't say that it's been anything that we can definitely stand behind and mortgage the house on as being completely 100%.
No, I would put it down to more personal experiences. This one.
Yeah, and I think talking about personal experiences is only a good thing, because as paranormal investigators, you know yourself, people will inevitably ask, have you ever seen anything, or have you ever had any experiences?
Oh, we've had a few experiences at this place,
to say the least.
To say the least.
And I think one that would spring to mind for me, and hopefully you'll agree, this is going to be a short recording, we're not going to get far with this one, would be a particular event where I suppose the only way of describing it would be, seeing a shadow person.
Oh, are you on about the one near the gate?
I am, funnily enough. That's exactly the one near the gate.
Yes, that was a personal favourite of mine, that one.
Of course, people can't relate just off listening to what we're saying, the exact layout of the place, but sufficient to say that there's a chapel in Cheshire which has an access road and the gate that leads into the area where the chapel is, and there's some benches that are just outside the main location, but inside of the gate, the access road, obviously.
Yeah, but it's in like in 3 sections.
It is, yeah, 3 sections.
Well, 4 if you count towards the river area.
Yeah, which we'll come to actually in a little bit. We'll come to that actually. I think
my personal experience.
Your personal little trauma in that particular area. And we've sort of used these benches almost as like a HQ, haven't we? Like a base camp.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of locations and what we normally set up on, but this particular night we sat at these certain benches near the gate. Yeah,
because it sort of gives us the opportunity to unload the equipment from the bags and cases and stuff, and also somewhere to sit down and have a brew and away from everybody else when they're taking photos, so team members can have a cigarette if you want one as well, so it doesn't contaminate photos.
Yeah, it's like a little safe spot so that nothing gets infected with any, like you say, with any smoking. Or
we can come out of the way, can't we? And
or any steam coming off the brew.
Yeah, because that can be picked up on the photograph and be misconstrued. And anyway, on the night in question, me and you had, we'd taken a time out or taken a break and sat on this bench.
I was actually making a roll up at the time.
I think you was rolling a cigarette at the time. Yeah. My memory of it is during the course of the night we'd heard 1 or 2 bangs and strange noises coming from the location that we couldn't pinpoint down to being anything in particular other than just being strange.
Strange noises, definitely. Bangs, particularly bangs that night.
Yeah, very very loud bangs that would boom and reverberate, wouldn't they? They were very loud and would feel them through the floor.
You could actually hear it through the valley as well.
It would echo throughout the valley, it would certainly echo through the valley. And that's pretty much what had gone on throughout the course of the night, up until this particular point, where myself and yourself are sat on the bench, like we say, just outside the main location, but within the gateway of the entrance to the location. So 2009, so we're going back a few years now.
Yes, this is when we were young.
I just remember, glancing over to my left, and obviously as I'm sat on the bench, we're both sat on the same bench. I'm on the right-hand side of the bench, you're on the left-hand side of the bench. So as I turn to my left, you're immediately there, of course. And the gateway and the access road is 20 feet beyond you, over to both our left-hand side.
I'd say about 20 feet.
And something caught my eye, which looked like a figure, basically. Not to put too fine a point, it would be a figure which seemed to be on the road. But just in complete shadow. I couldn't make out any features. And the funny thing is I reached across my own body with my right arm to tap you, to tell you.
On my right shoulder.
On your right shoulder, but you knew.
I'd already started turning. I had this weird feeling, and without even you really saying anything to me, I just happened to look to my left. And we both saw this figure go past the gate.
Yeah.
And it was like in disbelief what we were seeing.
Yeah.
Jake.
The thing is what surprised me most was that I didn't have to say to you or get your attention. As I tapped your shoulder, you were already looking over in that direction towards it. I didn't have to say anything.
No.
And that's the bit what stood out on the night, apart from actually seeing this shadow, this shadow person, this figure, drift across the road, was the fact that I didn't have to draw your attention to it. I was merely tapping you. You was already looking. You instinctively
I didn't look at you. I just automatically looked.
You instinctively looked over towards where I meant. And one thing that stood out to me was it must have been in view for only a couple of seconds.
I'd say about 6 seconds, if that.
Yeah. And then disappeared. It was travelling from left to right, going up the road, and then there were bushes and a hedgerow in the way, and it disappeared from view there. But as you know yourself, the road that leads into the location, there's only one road in, one road out.
And
it's on both sides of this lane. is hedgerow, so you're staying on the lane until you're out.
Till you get to the car park.
Until you get to the car park, yeah.
Up to the buildings, what are up there near the farm.
Near the farm, yeah, and there's no way of getting off that road other than coming into the location where we are, or like you say, going up to the farm buildings and the car park up there. Now, there was no sound.
No sound at all.
Even though there's gravel on the road.
Definitely.
And you would hear
footsteps.
You would
hear somebody walking across it.
You would hear footsteps, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So my memory of this is, of course, almost instantly as this thing's passed beyond sight because it's gone behind the hedgerows and continuing up the road. You've turned to me. We're both looking at one another like almost agog, as if saying,
"Have we just seen that?
Did we see that?" And then we've stood up straight away and walked this 20 feet to.
Well, if you want to say walk, we kind of
ran to the gateway to look up the road to see what had just gone past. Now it's a good 150, 200 yards from the entranceway up to the corner where it turns for the car park.
Easy.
So in the time space,
and there's a light at the end of that road,
and there's a street lamp. Yeah. And in the time period it's taken for me and you to get from the bench to there,
at least 2 seconds.
It's got to have been Usain Bolt.
Yeah.
That's getting up the road to get out of view. And we've turned the corner and looked up the road, and what did we see? Nothing whatsoever.
Nothing. And there was something on the road there, with the light being at the end of the road.
We would still see somebody. They'd be silhouetted because of the lamp. There would still be somebody on that road. They wouldn't have time running. They wouldn't have had time.
We would have heard them run.
A car wouldn't have got out of sight in the time space it took us to get there. But this figure had completely disappeared, and I saw no features.
No, I didn't see no features.
I saw no features. It just looked like a shadow of a person that glided.
Yeah, I would say glided.
Yeah,
because when we were walking back into the grounds, it was me that noticed that the footsteps on the gravel. We would have heard the gravel.
Crunching wasn't there. That should have gone along, like you say, the crunching. But of course, that's what happens when you're out on invest. Your thought process immediately jumps to try to analyse what's going on anyway. And on the night we were doing that.
Yeah, because when at the location where we regularly go and visit, we've got into an habit of walking on the grass because we have heard footsteps on the gravel paths. It's
one of the almost one of the guaranteed type of anomalies you're going to get that night is the sound of footsteps, isn't it? It's been picked up on by a few of the team members when we've been at this location.
And that's why we make a habit of walking on the grass sections so that we don't contaminate the
audio recordings. With the sound of our footsteps in place of what would consider being like true anomalies. But it's not the only thing that can scare us at that location, is it?
No, it isn't. As we were walking through the location, we were going through with another investigator from our group, Steve. We had gone through the wood section and we'd gone up towards the river, towards the bridge, the new bridge that had been built.
Yeah, there's a new bridge.
Ford. From the old fording across it.
And this is about a quarter of a mile away from the location we've just described previously.
Easily.
It's down the other end of the valley, on the other side of the location we're describing where the chapel is. There's a wooded area which has a track that goes through it, and then at the bottom end of that is where it opens up a little bit, and then you can go across a river on a big iron bridge, isn't it?
Well, we've gone down there, taking the other investigator with us, because I'd also had an experience there on an earlier investigation there, where I had another shadow, for a better word, another shadow person.
This is in the woods,
this is in the woods, near the 2 trees.
Yeah, there's like a pair of trees that stand out from the rest, what sort of bracket the actual path, and almost form like a kind of corridor, isn't there? The hill rises up towards it. These 2 big trees are on either side of it, and then the hill drops again, and it's sort of a midpoint in the actual wood, isn't it?
And as I was walking up that section, on a previous investigation. I was using my torch. At the moment, at this time, the area hadn't been properly developed and the path wasn't properly built. So at a later date that they'd finished doing the work.
It was more like a mud track.
Yeah. And I just happened to, in the torchlight, have this shadow sort of dart towards me, but slink off into the side of the path, which startled me and made me scuttle back a bit.
I remember the response you give. I mean, I had a different team member in front of me at the time, and I didn't actually see this happen, but I saw your response to it. And
I happened to shout you. It made me scuttle back a bit in fear. The basic fight or flight.
You're going to be surprised when something like that happens.
Every instinct inside my body was telling me to run, and I did shuffle back from it.
You held your ground though. You didn't run, you stayed there.
Yeah, I must have took about 4 or 5 steps back, I'll be honest.
It's like falling off a bike when you have an experience. Yeah. You've got to get back on and ride again, and you know, even if your knees are full of scabs, you've got to keep pedalling away. You've got to keep pedalling away.
And anyway, we like you said, we held his ground and we went further into it. Unfortunately, we didn't see anything after that.
But I'd just like to jump in a sec there, because there's a few different investigations that have been conducted at that location where different team members have seen that same anomaly or something very similar in exactly the same position. It might have acted slightly different, but the description tends to be pretty much the same, and this has happened over a period of 5 or 6 years, and it's been spread out with completely different people that have had like very similar experiences. And of course, you've got down to the bottom of this wood and headed towards the river. Yeah, got towards the new bridge. This is on a separate night. Yeah, this is on a separate night. Got down to the bridge. Did a bit of EVP recordings. Took some still photographs. And had the K2 with us to see if there's anything. We had a few flickers on the K2. One of the other team members thought he'd saw something on the way down, but we wasn't sure, so we kind of brushed it off a little bit, that one. But coming back from the coming back from the bridge. Coming back from the bridge, unknown to me, what had happened is as you'd reached the bridge and conducted what was a very nice scientific approach to that part of the investigation, like conducting EVP audio recordings and trying to get responses and then taking EMF readings, which is what you were down there for. You come back across the bridge and unbeknownst to you, I kind of lost me nerve, I'll put it that way. Lost me nerve for approximately 30 seconds. For about 30 seconds, because as I come round the corner, I happened to see 3 shadow... Not one, not two, but three shadow figures. 3 shadow figures in the line of the bushes. At the side of the path you have, just on the bush line. So basically, in between you and where the rest of the team is, and safety, basically, just off to the side of the track. Was these 3 anomalies. So to get to the rest of the team and safety, you've got to get past these. These three shadows. And unfortunately, the other fellow member nearly got throttled by me, because I grabbed him that hard and pointed him in the direction, and in my own words was, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now I can account for this, because even though we were a quarter of a mile away, it echoed across the valley like it was a baritone opera singer, and me and the rest of the team heard this reverberating across the valley. That when you had this, the other team member who nearly got strangled to death was Steve. By the way, we'll name and shame him. And my bot twitched like a rabbit's nose. It was twitching like a rabbit's nose. And these 3 anomalies, Wayne, these 3 anomalies, that
They didn't move.
They didn't move, did they?
No, they didn't move.
And there was a reason they didn't move, wasn't there?
They were cast iron figures.
They were cast iron silhouettes.
They were about 2.5 inch thick cast iron figures of people.
Yes.
And would having experiences there at first, it didn't cross my mind for them being cast iron.
Nobody had emailed you to tell you they were being put in there, had they?
No one had told me they'd been put in there.
They were the recent addition to that particular area.
Yes, I'd not known about them. So for a split second, my mind cast to like 3 shadow peoples in various different heights.
Yeah.
And
a family of shadow people.
Yeah. But Steve turned around and went, "No way, they're just figures."
And of course, everything was safe.
And a big sigh of relief just came out of me. Like,
It made for a very interesting night for the rest of us when we heard it from across the valley, though, I've got to be honest.
Yes.
And it serves a purpose, that little tale there, is to say that even when you're on investigations where you can kind of almost become blasé because you think you know the location, little things can take you by surprise. But there's a lesson to be learned here, I think, and that's regardless of whether you're surprised or whether you can get shocked or frightened by things, it's going back in afterwards. It's going back into the firing line and putting yourself through it. That is what, it takes a certain breed of person to want to do it, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, there's definitely a few times at this location, this chapel has had me in a oh my God, what's happening here?
Yeah.
And funny enough, it's either been a badger or a fox.
Yeah, many times.
That's what have just come out of the blue and startled me.
So basically, the top and bottom of it is, yes, as paranormal investigators, we have experiences, and yes, as paranormal investigators, you can be surprised, you can be shocked, and you can be scared. But for the most part, it's either something mundane, or it's over before you know it.
Yep.
And if anything, it just makes you more interested to want to find out what's going on.
Yep.
And it kind of drives the passion for wanting to doing it. Would you agree?
I would certainly say that.
No.
Out of all the investigations that we've been on, I'd say 95% will probably come up with a logical explanation.
Absolutely, if not
and
more.
And it's only the 5% that we've personally experienced what keeps me going.
Yeah, and that 5%, even though they might not be able to be explained straight away, don't mean there's no explanation for them, you know. Alright, well I think that kind of answers whether we've seen or had experiences ourselves, and maybe we'll cover one or two more as time goes on. So if that's been of any use to anybody, that's great. Thanks for listening. This is Dave from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
And this is Wayne from Tameside Paranormal Researchers.
Stay safe, peeps, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye bye.
To Tachyon Radio, the station that's so far ahead, it meets itself on the way back. Tachyon Radio.
Something is detected.